Hi guys, Stefan here, and you're listening to Talking About Tracy Chapman, the Tracy Chapman fan podcast. Today's guest is an incredible musician who has toured globally with the likes of Ann Wilson and Heart, contributed to multi-platinum and Grammy award-winning work, and has shared the stage with the likes of Jackson Browne and Eric Clapton. Today we have Andy Stoller. Thanks for joining us today, Andy. That's quite the CV you've got there.
Thanks for having me. I've had some adventures. That is for sure. I feel very grateful about that.
Tell me about some of that. Tell me what was your highlight?
Wow, there's so many. I mean, when I was reflecting on Tracy, before you called, and one of the big highlights was playing at the White House. We actually played "Give Me One Reason" with Eric Clapton, and that was just unbelievable. At the time, I mean, it's still unbelievable to me, but he was so gracious, and he was such a hero from when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it was thrilling. And the other highlight, big highlight in my career, I think, was just this year when we played Heart played the Hollywood Bowl. That was pretty stunning.
Incredible.
One of the guitar players on Heart, Craig Bartok, is a fantastic Beatles. Not a fan. He's like an aficionado. He's one of these guys. And so we were sound checking at the Hollywood Bowl, and Craig came over and said, "Okay, well, I think John stood right here.
Oh, wow.
Paul stood over here, and it was a little overwhelming, but exciting for sure. Yeah. Those are a couple of highlights.
Yeah, and recent as well. I love that. So you're living the dream still. Heart are great, feel good, powerful. Tiny bit before my time, but then everything that I'm a fan of seems to be.
How old are you? Can
I
ask
am
that?
30, yeah.
That's good.
So you've got quite the CV, like I said. They seem to be rock legends. Is that something you have curated, or is that just by chance?
Well, no. I mean, it's just sort of how it came to be. One thing would lead to another. It wasn't necessarily my goal, but I would just fall into it. I auditioned for Tracy without really knowing her at all, and then that kind of really springboarded my career.
Great. That was in 1994?
Yes, probably. Yes.
Yeah. I think so. New beginning. When you say you auditioned, I think that marked a change in style for Tracy in a way. I think before then she was she had pre-written all of the music, and she had everything ready to go. I think a lot of the source material was pre-1988, so a lot of the first three albums came from her career, busking, playing smaller gigs. But this was the first time she got a band together and wrote around the band, I believe.
Yes, it was something like that. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, she was, the word was she was looking for a dad, not she didn't want to, just like you said, go into the studio. She's had some amazing players on those early records, but she wanted, just kind of like you described, she wanted some time to, workshop the band and spend a few months playing together and figuring these songs out. So that's exactly what happened. A friend of mine that I was actually living with at the time, Michael Meisel, was working for this management company, Gold Mountain, and then Tracy was a new client. And I had always loved that first record like everyone else, and I sort of demanded from my friend that he hook me up with an audition somehow. Yeah. And that was it. I was living in LA. I flew to Oakland to audition. Rock Dedrick was there, and Tracy and me. And then I got called back like a week later, and then they offered me the job, and it was like Thursday, and they said, work starts Monday. You got to move to San Francisco. And I was in my car, the next day, very excited. That's how I joined the band.
That's quite the intro to Tracy. A lot of people do say it moves quickly.
Yeah, I was ready. I was ready to get out of LA, and I was ready. I was just definitely ready to do a gig like this. And then we went. So we I moved to San Francisco. We rehearsed at the studio. Actually, the studio we rehearsed at, we kind of camped out for a few months, was owned by Neil Schon of Journey. That's a little trivia for you. But
nice.
So we were in his studio. I mean, it was a couple months, going there every day and just playing. And it was, as a young man in his 20s, this was heaven. Getting up, going to the studio, working, and coming home. It was just exactly what I wanted.
So that was with Tracy as well as the band?
Yeah, so when I was, it was me and Tracy and Rock Dedrick, Adam Levy on guitar, Glennis Rogers on percussion and vocals, and then we had a few different keyboard players kind of rotate through. She eventually settled on Kiki Ebsen, was probably the longest running keyboard player, but also people like Patrick Warren, John Thomas, all great people. Yeah. You
guys seem close even now, even if you're not connected. I mean, I mentioned just before we started recording the Tracy Chapman Online community, which I sort of manage, and I always make an effort to tag you guys whenever you're in content, and it's really nice to see you're reminiscing of those days.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great time. And I'm still very, very good friends with Glennis Rogers. I keep in touch with most of the other folks too. Yeah, it was very exciting. Yeah, we rehearsed the album. Like I said, she had the tunes basically written, but we worked on arrangements together. Yeah. And then we did this quick tour of small venues, clubs even, and then we right away went in the studio. So she wanted to get us kind of road, worn just a little bit, and then head to the studio. So the tour was also rehearsal for the record, and then we went to the site, the studio in Marin County, which was just beautiful, and we spent maybe 3 weeks there. I don't know, to do basic tracks, and then overdubs were done over the next few months. And
you toured prior to the album. I think that's unique. What were the big learnings for the record, or was it just refinement at that stage?
The idea of going on the road, like it often happens. You do a tour, you start a tour, and then kind of like you're working stuff out. You get your groove on, and the last show of the tour, you're like, now we got it. And
yeah.
And my sense is she wanted to get that feeling and then head right in.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So you were new-ish to Tracy's work when you went in. How quickly did you realize what you were dealing with? Because New Beginning became a monster hit in the US.
Yeah. Well, we had no idea about when we made the record, what it would do. You never know. You never know how it's going to turn out, because as a rhythm section player, you're there at the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
Laying down what they call basic tracks, so at least the drummer and the bass player, are doing it live. But we did the whole band live, and but then you're away from it for months, and they overdubs are put on, and they mix it, and you just never know. It's often very different than what you remember,
Sure.
Let alone are people going to like it. And I remember, I was just telling someone the story. We went, record came out, and it didn't really make much noise at the beginning, and I think we were in Europe. I don't know. We did a tour. I remember at the end of the tour, Tracy gathered us around and sort of said, "Okay, I think we're going to be done." Just to tell people if they want to look for work, because we were going to, I guess, close up shop, and then. Which was kind of a bummer, but then very soon after that, they dropped "Give Me One Reason," and it just took off, and then everything started over there.
Yeah,
that was the beginning of a big whirlwind. Which was great.
I was reading about "Give Me One Reason." "Give Me One Reason" was written in 1986, I believe, which predated this album. All of the other tracks were contemporary.
Yeah.
Did you approach that song differently in the recording process?
I recall, and I may be remembering it wrong, but that it was. I mean, I remember like that tour we did before, because it's a 12-bar blues. It's not. it's not very complex, although with the arrangement of how we did it on the record we had to work on. But for people who don't know, the 12-bar blues is a very basic song form, but she nails it, she kills it. But I remember in the studio that we kind of recorded it last, I think, and it felt like an extra song that we didn't put as much time into. But I think part of what makes that song great is that we played it live, and if you listen, or if you're tapping your foot to it at the beginning and the end, it actually speeds up, which is kind of unusual, and you try not to do that with recording, but sometimes it's super appropriate as the song gets more energy. I mean, if you listen to a lot Led Zeppelin songs, they actually speed up. By the end, it sort of lifts the excitement of it, and I don't think it was intentional the way we did it, but I actually think that's part of the appeal, I think.
Yeah. Strangely. Do you have any other memories from touring that may be of interest or were unusual?
Yeah, I mean there's the experience of creating and playing music that for big audiences, which is just thrilling. It still is. And we had these special, unusual concerts we do. Like we did this Amnesty International concert in Paris. It was the 30th anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights, and we opened the show. It was at this Coliseum, and we opened the show. I mean, there's a DVD of this of Tracy's band playing behind Tracy, of course, and Bruce Springsteen and Peter Gabriel and Youssou N'Dour, and that was quite a thrill. Yes, we were in the rehearsal studio outside Paris, and Peter Gabriel walks in, and we rehearsed with him. It was just unbelievable. Some thrilling events like that, but also just being on tour, at that level. That was the first time I'd done that. It was, you travel pretty well, even though it's pretty tiring, but nice buses, nice accommodations, and the hang was just great. I mean, we went all over the world. We were in Australia for quite a long time, and we went to South Africa. We were in Soweto, all over Europe and the U.S. Yeah, it was just great. I love touring. I love it. If I was still single, I would, I would just do it. But once you have a family, it gets, harder.
I feel like that's why Tracy's been away for so long, to a degree, and not the families per se, but just to live life a little, which makes perfect sense. So you mentioned there Australia. Interestingly, from that concert, the Amnesty International concert, Tracy replaced some of New Beginning, the song, with a didgeridoo solo.
Right, so that's another example. We played that song for that concert, just completely different than the record. I think she gets not bored, but she just wants to try new things. But I guess we had been to Australia, exactly, and she had the didgeridoo, of course. But she played it on the record too.
Oh, okay.
The didgeridoo at the beginning, that's her playing it, I think.
Would you say this approach and this creativity is relatively unique, or is this something that you see a lot with musicians and lead vocalists? You're talking about different versions of songs? Yeah, the arrangements and
I don't think it's I love it as a performer. I love it as a fan, and I think some fans get upset because they want to hear the song just like on the record.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Heart now, we've done so some of the huge hits differently. And when I played in Anne's solo band, same thing. Just after years of doing the same song every night, I can imagine you want to sing it a different way once in a while.
Yeah, that
instead
makes
of
sense.
not playing it, right?
Yeah. I think it depends what type of fan you are. Actually, these are little gifts to the long-standing fans, because there are people who go and just want to hear Fast Car and Baby Can I Hold You and talk about Revolution. But actually, if we go to maybe 1 or 2, 3 shows a tour, it'll be different every night. And it's I remember 2005 was the first time I saw Tracy live, and it was on the Where You Live tour. I think it was in Manchester Apollo, and she opened with a long, drawn-out, dramatic version of Why, and you couldn't tell which song was coming, and it's absolutely enthralling. You just it builds that excitement and anticipation, and it sets the tone really for the whole game. As a a big fan, it's kind of thrilling when you. I know what you mean. That moment an artist plays, you're not really sure what song it is. Yeah, it's familiar, and then it hits you. That's awesome. A lot of people don't like Bob Dylan these days because they say it's unrecognizable, and I understand his voice has changed over the years, but that's what he does. He mixes it up, and I love that. You can't really criticize him because he's paid his dues. He could do what he wants. Yes, I understand the rub that some people have with him, and I can't argue with that. But for my taste, it's his rawness now, and it's kind of like a little bit like Tom Waits. The voice is hard to get used to, but I still think Bob Dylan is a great singer. He's very expressive and emotive, and his phrasing is great, and I'm a fan, so I'll stop gushing. No, I'm with you. My friend Adam, who listens to the podcast, so shout out to Adam. Hi, Adam. He introduced me to the Christmas album a few years back, which is quite something. But that's one that kind of stays on my shelf, but that's okay. I love it. It's just so intriguing, so interesting, and original. You can't say that Christmas music has ever sounded like that. So I got to pull one out, I guess. Now that you mention it. So okay, moving through from New Beginning to Telling Stories. Yeah. This was a notable gap in Tracy's career, and I think at this stage she was saying, impressed, that she was getting a bit tired of the tour release process, which she'd been going through for almost 10 years. Yeah. So do you remember anything from that time, and did you see a dynamic change? Well, I stopped touring with her. Let's see. After we made that record, telling stories. I think I did a couple things at the beginning of that cycle, but so let's see. Go back. We had that New Beginning band. I think one of the years in there, maybe '98, she kind of reformed the band with Steve Hunter, Larry Campbell on guitar, who's just fantastic, and it was sometimes Patrick Warren on keyboards instead, and then Denny Fongheiser on drums. And we did that band like for the Lilith tour, for example, for those Tibet concert, the Amnesty stuff that I was talking to you about. Yeah. And then she took a break and then started pre-production for the record, which I think Steve was there, Denny, I think Jeff. What's his name? Great keyboard player, plays with Jackson Browne. Sorry, can't remember. And anyway, it was different because there was a different producer, David Kirschenbaum, who did her first 2 records. Yeah. I think it kind of went back to that kind of sound. She wanted to go back and try that. It didn't feel as much like a band to me. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say it wasn't a great record or valid. It's just a different way to make the record. So, but also and she had more people on the record, like Larry Klein played a lot, the bass player, who was also on the first 2 records. He's fantastic, and he became a prominent, fantastic producer
he was an inspiration to me as a player. When I was deciding or figuring out what I wanted to do and what appealed to me as a musician, the whole idea of being a studio player was very intriguing to me, because like basically doing what people like Larry Klein or Lee Stoller do is they go into a session, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You're given basically some instructions that might be like somebody plays a song or there's a demo, and you learn the song right there and you get creative and you do it and then you're done. And then tomorrow it's something different. That I love that, and so watching him as a model was great, especially because he was on those early records that I had to learn. So that was a pleasure too.
Yeah, so he had the all of the reference points in the stories, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the band dynamic, the band.
I forgot what the question was. Oh yeah, the dynamic change. Yeah.
The band had changed.
Telling stories.
But still, a great record, and
I know, great songs. There was there was this one song I played on that Emmylou Harris sang on too.
The Only One.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was this other one. It was in 3. I can't remember. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
It's been years.
Did you meet Emmylou Harris?
No, not then. But I did meet her maybe about 3 or 4 years ago when I was playing with Ann Wilson's band, and we were in Nashville, and she sat in with us. She and Alison Krauss sat in with us, and that was quite a thrill. So I met her then.
Nice. She's a bit of a folk legend.
Oh, she's amazing, and she's got this presence. Some people have this glow when they walk in the room. She's one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you were also credited on Let It Rain.
Yes. Yes, that was fun. It was interesting for that one. Either they didn't have a bass player there, or they had something they wanted to change. Because I got a call. She was already into recording, and I got a call from her. She's like, "Do you want to come just down, do some overdubs?"
Okay.
Which is it's unusual to do bass overdubs, just because when you track with the bass and drummer in the same room, it's there's a certain energy and there's a certain connection to the groove. That's just normal, but and I had never done bass overdubs before, but I learned to love it because you're sitting in the control room. Well, how it happened, I was with Tracy and the producer, and you can really microscope and get things just right and focus on what you're doing. So it was I don't know, whatever I did. I think we tracked the song "Let It Rain" live with Joey Warnaker, who's a great drummer. And I remember we kept the first take of that, so what you hear on the record is the first thing we played.
Oh, great!
And everything else that I played on I overdubbed, and Tracy played some bass on the record too, I think. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! So that's quite the span of the career there. You've got from sort of 1994 through 2002.
And then I did some sessions for where you live. Yeah, but I did some sessions, but they didn't. For some reason, didn't keep it. And that happens sometimes too.
What I love about that album is you can hear the sirens in the background. You can hear people walking past. It feels very alive. It feels very, but not. It doesn't feel live in the sense that it's rough. It feels as if it's living a little, as if you can hear it breathing.
Something about the way Tracy recorded her voice. It was very, at least my perception, it was very dry, like, not a lot of effect on it, and kind of really up front. Like, if you really have a discerning ear, it sounds like, they placed the voice higher maybe than normal, relative to the other instruments. But kind of like Tom Petty does that too. It's just kind of the singing and the lyrics are just right in front of your face, and it feels, even with a band, it gives it this intimate feel and this kind of presence that you may be referring to, kind of a raw element and something that's very pristine in the background. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much for taking the time out today to chat to me, because it's been incredible and so insightful.
Great.
I really appreciate that. Just before you go, I know we've been through so many of the tracks, but I always ask if you could choose one track, what would it be?
Maybe The Promise.
Solid. We haven't had that one yet.
Because, it was special to me because when we played it in concert, it would just be me and her, and that was always special for me. And we did that at the White House. That time when we played with Eric, but that song was just the two of us the same. So that's, I love, and I really love from the New Beginning record, I'm Ready.
Yeah.
That's
great.
I always get a little chill when I hear that. Yeah, I know it was about her grandfather, and with that context, listening to the lyrics is, it's pretty powerful. So yeah.
And Save a Place for Me is a beautiful reprise from that.
Yes.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant answer. Thank you. Thanks again.
What's your favorite one, babe?
So mine, I've got a few. B&B Not Afraid, which is from Where You Live. It's bizarre. It's again relatively dark in its subject matter, but it's stunning. There's I think it's an accordion. Does a little solo in the middle, and it just lets you sit with the vibe of it and the meaning, and it's haunting. So that one. And then
that's a good description.
Yeah, and then Bridges from Crossroads, and also I think I'd have to say At This Point in My Life. Just because I think everyone can relate to to me,
no matter where you are.
Yeah.
I just I need to. I mean, this was a long time ago. I don't take it for granted. That. How special that experience was, and that record really changed my life in many ways, my professionally, creatively, financially, and it was. I get a lot. I still get people calling me because of that record and the way I played on it, and Tracy really gave me freedom to try interesting things, and I'm just very proud of it, and grateful to her, and grateful. I don't take it for granted. It was great.
Well, absolutely, and like we said, that CV you've accumulated since, testament to your talent and ability. Tracy only works with great musicians, but also great people. So I think that's very evident throughout her entire career.
It really makes a difference, your personality.
Yeah.
Like, what if in this business, there are thousands, maybe not thousands, but there are many people that could have done that job instead of me, that were maybe more technically agile, but personality is so important, especially if you're going on the road, you're going to be in a band. Young players sometimes come up to me and, they ask me for advice. They want to do the kind of professional stuff I do, and they say, "What should I do?" And my first answer is always, "Don't be an asshole." and it's with seriousness. It's because of all that. You practice, of course. Show up on time, but God, there's a lot of people that aren't. Wouldn't be good travel partners, let's say.
Yeah.
And that that makes a difference. Or if you end up being a dick about, you don't stay. Mm-hmm. People get, and so that's my little testament to being nice.
I like that.
I mean, with any job, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
Music business is insane, so you gotta spread kindness where you can.
Like a little pressure cooker, I guess, and lots of
it can be, yeah.
Lots of egos.
Yes.
Right, perfect.